So to watch all the community members that showed up, because we couldn't, and they were there, and they were saying my son's name, was really powerful. But it was hard to watch because I seen how they were treated, and it was peaceful. But then to watch my son be killed all over again I have a really bad pit in my stomach right now, and it's hard.
I can be a little closer.
Well, I just have to start out with extreme sincere thanks to Sophia Dre, who was a stranger to me multiple years ago when I first met her and trusted her and her team with my son's story. Nobody was listening. Nobody was talking about Kobe, and it really hurt my feelings. So for some people to come up to me, Hollywood people at that, and say they're going to do this, I was like, yeah. And we really entrusted them with a lot, like stuff that wasn't public, brought them into our homes, and what this team of Carl Reed, I can't say your last name, Nico, my friend.
Yeah, I could say his last name either.
Natalie, and all the other contributors. Adrian did great with that, video of inside the thing. So I'm so grateful for you guys taking this on as a passion project and getting, let's admit it, some of the best footage ever. I mean, it's like it really brings you back to being there.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
So I appreciate you guys so much because so this was my third time watching it.
I was like,
because we had a case for Kobe still going on, I had the right of whatever you would call it when I got to make sure there wasn't anything in there that might hurt the case. And so I watched it once there and then in Hollywood. But I remember watching the first time I watched it was sheer utter relief at the amount of respect that you showed our sons and us, and then on top of it, how well you did just put it all together.
Yeah. Good and powerful movie. I told you for that personally.
And then I don't also want to forget to thank our legal beagles, our people, friends now who tirelessly fight for the families, take cases that most people don't want to take. They're harder. You get people mad at you for, taking these types of cases and defending these horrible people who we all know are actually just our wonderful, beautiful babies that were taken from us too soon.
Yep. So, how do you feel? Where are you?
Well, I'm feeling relieved that it's over. It's always very hard to watch. I definitely noticed from watching it in my home on a laptop versus watching it, in a theater with the loud sound and the big screen, and then now having watched it the second and third time, knowing, kind of exactly those times that it's going to be very tough for me to watch. I know I kept on telling my ex-husband, Jason, don't look. I kept on seeing him, don't look. I don't even know what might be up there, but just don't look. There's no reason to want to see that. It's horrible. I've had to look at it to try to get a case to convince an attorney to, even have filed a federal civil rights lawsuit, which unfortunately we just, the defense submitted for a motion for summary judgment, which essentially says they really have no legal argument, and here we're going to prove it, and the judges agreed with that. So now we're looking to file an appeal. So. All right, but I'll talk all night long, so I'll let you go on and ask.
Okay, Amity.
I'm just very grateful that you all came out here and watched this with us.
I still want to keep the focus on the mothers, and I know you're stepping in for Hadash as well. You want to say a few words about where you are and how you feel?
Oh, first of all, thank all you guys for being here. Thank you guys for producing a wonderful film. I'm feeling angry but excited. I'm just watching it. I remember everything that happened all over again. Remembering a lot of the lies that was told, and realizing that none of these mothers really have received adequate justice. That everybody who has murdered their sons are still out here enjoying their lives, whether it's Dr. Death or they call him Dr. Leonard, we call him Dr. Death. Because he's responsible for a lot of deaths in Minnesota and throughout the Midwest.
Yeah.
Or
Ardell
Killer
and
Kim
others.
Potter.
Kim Potter.
Who's free, or the
Yeah.
officers who murdered
That's
Kobe Heisler. That was my first time seeing that footage of what happened to Kobe.
Man,
So that-
yeah.
That's devastating. So it really makes me upset. And to
all he
know
was
that
trying to do was go
the
outside.
same people are trying to do it again with what's happening with Ricky Cobb, who was stopped by state troopers. So we're glad you guys all came out here tonight,
Instead,
but
he
we still
lied
got a
about
lot of
that
work
on
to do.
the
For these
corporate
families
media.
and all stolen lives here in the state of Minnesota. But I'm also proud, excited
Channel 9, Channel
to be
11.
a part of a movement which started the biggest movement in American history, and with a lot of people in this room. And just real quick, remembering, when this happened, I had to prepare my sister for what was going to happen. So we had to fight. In this show, first we had to fight to get the footage. And I told her they were lying. Because they were like, oh, he fell in our arms and he tried to save and resuscitate him. But they were lying. So and then I told her we got to get in touch with Unicorn Riot so we get the footage. And that's what happened. And then the world got to see that the Minnesota Department of Corrections were liars, and that law enforcement in Minnesota was liars. And that was in 2018, and then 2020 happened, and then 2021 happened, and it just all came out. But this is a powerful film, and I think it's going to help a lot of families in the future.
I know the rest of you are here. I'm gonna keep my focus on the mothers and family. I want to just invite Katie, if you will, speak to the audience about what do you want them to take away from this film, your life, from the story, Dante. What do you want them to remember? What do you want them to keep? What do you want them to take away?
I think to remember is community can come together and make big changes.
Right.
The power
Like
of
my
the
shirt
people is
says,
so
this is what
important
communities
when things
it's
like this happen. I also want community and community leaders to remember that after our sons are taken off the ground, after we bury them or put them in an urn, we still have to continue to fight. And I think that it's so important that community remembers that they still have to show up. Even if it means we're not fighting for accountability anymore because maybe a family has received quote-unquote accountability, but we're still fighting to make those changes so that way your neighbor, your sons, your daughters, your fathers, your brothers can stay safe in a system that was meant to cause harm and so much damage. I forgot the 3 questions.
That's okay.
What do you want them to take away? What do you want them to remember and cherish?
So remembering that it's bigger than the families that you see on TV. It's bigger than what the Ben Crumps show up for.
Right.
It's bigger than what the media shows up for. There's
Right.
so many families that are in this room right now. Amity's story, that just because the media doesn't show up for a loved one, we still need to rise up as a community, because it's not about the cameras and the lights.
That part right there.
It's about truly making change. And for a family member
we continue to fight. We don't have, they left us with nothing else but to fight. So it's going to be a continuous fight, even after we have buried our babies. We're going to always continue to fight because that's what we do as mothers. We fight and we protect, and that's what we have to do. What was the other question? That was all of it? Oh, okay.
What do you want?
He's brain free.
Well, I would, say all of that, and on top of that, then Katie and I, have been working side by side, and have just started a nonprofit called
I just,
Dante and Kobe
I-
No More Names Initiative.
And
No
I
More
just
Names on
bought a
that
t-shirt from them.
scroll that you saw.
yeah, I just,
And really
yeah, I
what
bought
we
mine
wanna
too
do
as well.
is fight to change policy and procedure, legislation, the way things
I'm
are
thinking I'm
done,
going to wear it tomorrow.
and kind of mess up the status quo.
I might
And
just be at home.
that's why we did the nonprofit, to be able to try to do that with like our people that write bills.
That's why I was going to visit Dad.
And really wanting to be able to take the low-level traffic stop policy and the consent search policy that Brooklyn Center just absolutely screwed us on.
Yep.
And then appropriate response initiatives, which is the work we were doing in Kobe's honor, which what they're trying to pass is an absolute joke. So
Definitely is.
Thanks for wasting our time for 3 years, everybody, and thank
Yep.
everybody who sat on the implementation committee with us. But
Yeah,
so
and why
I
they
think it's
voted
really
it down
important that,
when
we get
it
the
was
support
common
and
sense.
we ask for help and things like that.
Let me ask this. When we say Kobe, when we say Dante, when we say Hadel, what do you want them to remember? What do you want us to remember about?
That they were wonderful people, that they what the people, if you go read the comments on the Perry Levin segment that they did yesterday, I made the mistake and read like 5 minutes today. It was an absolute mistake. No, our children were not that. They were our children. They were wonderful. They were beautiful. They were great brothers,
Oh,
cousins.
I'm going to have to check that out just to,
And
like, okay.
and that's what I want people to take from this. We're hoping that you see some of their humanity. That when you try to read what they say in the papers, and then you actually see, no, they were wonderful, beautiful kids. I mean, my son crocheted. He wasn't, but they said he was.
Yeah.
So
Mental illness
that's
is
what I
not
hope
a
people take
crime.
away.
And to just echo exactly what Amity
Girl
said,
diversion.
Dante was the kid that just would make you laugh. He was a comedian. His smile would light up the room. He was a big, mean brother, but at the same time, he was an amazing kid. Like, he loved family. He was so, it was so important to him to keep family together. Some of the kids would like to say he was my favorite, but I don't have favorites. But he was just that kid. He was amazing. He loved animals. He loved cats. He was the class clown, and he would joke with you until he got on your last nerve and you want to punch him. But he was an amazing kid. He loved basketball. He was like basketball and video games. And ramen noodles.
Well, who don't like ramen noodles?
My sister
I
will
do.
be here today. She's had a funeral today, and then she's going to another funeral in
They must
Chicago
still share
tomorrow.
this.
What she wanted people to know about Ardell is that he was a jokester. He was very funny. He was always the life of the party. And he was a father. He had 3 children. They loved him. He was involved in their life. Dante was a father. He was a so when the police kill people, they're stealing people away from their family, their
That part.
children. They're stealing knowledge away from our community, knowledge that will be transferred on to the next generation, and their kids won't get to enjoy that. So those are things that we want them to remember, and also making sure that you know that these are good, powerful, loving human beings and black men. And so, and Sophie did a great job in the film of bringing that out. So we really, really appreciate you deserve a guinea for that. So, right away.
So let's shift to Sophie. Sophie, when you decided to do this, what was in your heart? What were you trying to do?
First, I witnessed the murder of George Floyd. And then I witnessed the murder of George Floyd. And then I knew I cannot sit at home. I went to protest. In Los Angeles, I went to downtown, we started to protest. But then, seeing love, support, people who came there, made me to take my camera and start to document protest. That's how it started. After that, I started to work with Tracy Harris. He's not here, unfortunately, but Amity, Katie, you guys know him. Me and him, we started to travel through different states, filming speakers, protesters. Brutality of the police in different states was different. How they pepper spray media, how they rubber bullet trust people who stay with these signs, and that. And I knew that we have to go to Minneapolis. And it was Mother's March. In July 2020 was Mother's March. We came there, we had bigger crew, we had sound person, camera crew, and we started to film Mother's March. That's where I met Delcia and Amity. Later, unfortunately, I met Katie. But I want to say something before I keep talking. Like you asked this question, and I was thinking if the same question is going to be asked, what should I say? Right? You ask, how do you feel? If you ask me how I feel, I cannot even answer how I'm feeling. It's not describable. Some of you said congratulations today with accomplishing my work, completing the film. But in the same time, I feel horrible seeing your tears today.
Yeah, that part.
I feel horrible, worse than horrible. And I want to say I'm sorry for what this film is about. I'm sorry, I'm truly sorry.
Yeah.
I wish this film would be about three mothers and their sons' achievements.
Right.
I wish we could see Kobe college graduation, how he becomes chef, maybe open his bakery or restaurant. I wish Hardell would take his three beautiful daughters to the real car track racing. You saw the pictures. I wish he would take to the real car track racing, because there would be no age restriction, because his daughter would be old enough. I wish this film could portray how Dante teaching his son's first steps, talking first words, maybe playing basketball. But this is not about that. Unfortunately, this film is not about that. So I think that's why we're all here today. That's why the presence of each of you here strengthens the fight and gives hope that this can be changed. And also I want to say, the support I saw in Minneapolis, I never see any support in other states. Never. I'm so happy that you have these people behind of you. I'm so happy.
Oh, we got a bunch of activists here.
Thank you. But also I want to add something. To make this film wasn't easy, emotionally very not easy. But I had a great team who helped me and
Mikal Georgiadis is here. All that process footage.
That's how you say his last name.
You saw that he filmed that. His courage inspired me a lot, and I think it should inspire others.
You're from here, man. You've been with us in the marches. You've been with us in the protests. You've been taking pictures and being a part of this.
Live streaming as well.
Where are you and how are you feeling it? What do you want this community to take away?
Well, thank you. Thanks everyone for coming. Thank you, Sophia, for making this. Thanks for the moms for opening their hearts and trusting Sophia. Not coming from here, that's a lot to trust somebody to tell your story.
Right.
And then Jeff and Jonathan, Legal Side, Zoroslav, all those guys that were here tonight. Yeah, thank you so much.
I keep telling John he should run for office.
When I was first asked to be a part of the project, I hesitated because at Unicorn Ride we were already working on the Mother's podcast, or Mother's documentary, which turned into a podcast. Only one part is out yet. But I hesitated because I was like, well, that's the same project I'm working on almost. Should I put my time? My answer came real quick. Why am I doing this? For the moms. Hell yeah, I put my time into this. So
That's right.
I was blessed to be a part of it. Thank you so much for asking me to be a part of it. Also, it was hard as hell. Also, it was beyond being hard. A thing that we need to do, right? As a journalist, especially in the middle of ground zero of the biggest movement against anti-blackness that hit the globe ever, I felt definitely a mega duty. It's really been since the movement of Black Lives hit the streets, 10 years ago. You feel like it's your duty if you're a revolutionary, a libertarian, not a libertarian, anything like that. You would feel like, okay, let me actually either be involved or document. So documenting, seeing Sophia's love for documenting, and then seeing that she had a vision to go further than just putting it on video right now. This is a project that she was working on, a larger project that ended up getting brought down to 3 people. Again, all the other moms, it doesn't mean that your story isn't as valuable. It's just hard to chop that shit down to tell everybody's story. So to me, I'm feeling similar to Sophia, very, very hurt in the sense that we get to sit here and watch the moms talk about their stories again, but also very glad and thankful and blessed to be a part of the project. I feel like we know the situation happens, we know how anti-blackness works in the world, and we know how these institutions are just ingrained in anti-blackness. And I think that also a fresh view of that was from an international perspective. I've been watching news for 30 years, and the international news looks at race relations in America with a very clear eye, in my opinion, whereas Americans either are filtrated or white supremacified. And so I think that I want to thank that fresh perspective at looking at how race relations really works in America. America was built off of slave labor and genocide, right? We have to know every institution in America was built off of white supremacy. And so I think
part right there.
Her lens
What's
was
the enemy? White supremacy.
I'm feeling like that in a lot of it.
So, as you both were working with the mothers and the greater community, right? I mean, you took pictures, you spliced and put a documentary together. How was your relationship and interactions with the mothers, and what was going on?
Yeah, knowing, so as Trader mentioned, Hating Up Unicorn Ride in 2019, I think we were the first to exclusively drop the Hard Al Cheryl jail tapes. Working on that was mad hard. Like,
y'all was.
Going through those memories again, editing late at night, just crying. Like, oh,
I remember
man,
sharing the link.
How is the community dealing with it, right? So I think that basically, in my opinion, just looking at all of that, going through the situations of seeing why did I already have the idea to create the Mother's documentary? Because I have been seeing, Monique, she's not here right now, I think Marcus Gold's aunt, right? Matilda, I've been seeing all these moms talk coalesce with each other.
just
We
ran into
supported
her out there.
networks, we supported groups, and so I was very glad to see other people saw that as well. And then, yeah, you go into 2020, and then it turned into just about George Floyd, and it hadn't been just about, we had a movement here, it's been a movement here, right? And so, like, we had
Philando
all these
Castile,
impacted by
Jamar
officers
Clark.
before George Floyd. We had best friends of ours getting beat up and killed, and even me, I got beat up and smashed out, right? So, like, there's a lot of us who have been dealing with this for a long time, and we're deeply touched, and we're deeply into the community. And so I feel like with that, the overall arching scene of Minneapolis and these moms getting together is super powerful, and it's one that I think that probably could, if you look at the world, right, you've got ground zero of the movement. Literally, these moms are ground zero of the accountability and support movement.
Yeah.
So, you know, as journalists, you're
those
expected
queens
to
right
be
there.
objective. Right? So how do you wrestle with that idea of being objective, and yet you are dealing with some emotional, deep, painful?
Yeah, that's true about objectivity, and I think we were completely objective here. Also, I want to add, it's interesting situation was when we reached out police department.
Mm.
Our team reached out Brooklyn Police Center Department 2 times. No one ever replied. We reached out Mark Fruman office to comment on Kobe case. No one answered. And
Not surprised.
we also reached out just Minneapolis Police Department, main department media. They feed promises that they're going to give interviews, they're going to reply, they're going to say their point of view, but it never happened. The interview was delayed, and then suddenly they just stopped answering. What I'm saying here is we gave them voice to speak up as well, and they have nothing to say. So.
Let me just ask, I know some of you know about this, that there is a documentary that just came out, The Fall of Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Right? It takes to task everything that is displayed here. Any thoughts on that before I get to the lawyers?
Yeah. So talk about objectivity real quick. Independent lens or community lens of objectivity would use the community voice,
Yeah, it's
right?
Bob.
And not
Wife
really the
made
police
that.
voice, because we already know every single
So you know what that's
media
all about.
relation in corporate mainstream media is tied to the police and the police narrative. They just break the report and then they
Yep.
regurgitate the report in the news.
Yep.
So just to say that, yes. And also beyond that, this going to the folks to ask them their opinion and then not hearing from them, again, anyways. The Fall of Minneapolis, this comment. So, right, you have Alpha
Bob
News,
Kicker
right?
Kroll's
Very far right wing.
wife.
You got Liz Collins, wife of the Police Association head for a long time. Bob Kroll, who was also part of a motorcycle gang, a white supremacist motorcycle gang at that, who had
And they're-
mad lawsuits
and they're
against
married.
them, and a hell of a past, right? She then makes The Fall of Minneapolis. So, yeah, like, in my opinion, I have not watched it, I'm not going to. It's not very surprising at all that half of America will fall into that shtick of, yeah, let's listen to that.
Yep.
But as far as I know, and they did use some Unicorn Riot footage, I heard. As far as I know, those, if you want to get the real voice from the ground of what happened, you can watch this movie, you can go to Unicorn Riot, you can go to King Demetrius Pendleton, you can go to all these different independent platforms. There's a ton of them out here as well. A bunch of
My
cats
good
that
friend,
can't
they
even
gave
so,
us the list.
yeah, in my opinion, like there's a lot to say about that. You could, but talking about objectivity, if you're looking at that and trying to find an objective piece where you have the wife of a head of the police union that was part of this, and right, you go in August. Some of the film was in August. Bob Kroll's house was visited in August, right? And
I remember I stood
some
outside.
funny scenes from there. But some folks who are in here falling asleep right now.
John Thompson.
Hey, John.
Bob Kroll thing. I'm sorry, bro. You fall asleep. But yeah.
Yeah, I remember when Johnny said,
Appreciate it. Because I don't want us to think that they are not fighting these narratives, right? They are fighting these narratives. Right? And they are using films, they are using documentaries, they are using proofs, whatever they can get a hold of. So I want to just switch to the lawyers and just invite you to share, right, legally, right, what we saw here, what others have experienced, what our community has experienced. How does that play out in a courtroom? Why is our legal system so far behind and not connected to community and its impact and the harm that is being done to community on a regular basis?
Well, I'll jump off. It starts more basic than that, though. I mean, our mother's our first touch to this world, right? And so when I talk about these cases, they're not cases, right? It often starts with moms and dads. I spend 90% of my time with moms and dads who have lost somebody. And I just had a mom I was talking to this week who was advocating for her dead son. And she said, you know, am I being too pushy? And I said, in my experience, pushy moms get shit done.
Yep. Those two
I think
right there.
that, and you only see that if you've spent time with moms who've lost children like this, because you realize what that pain is and what that love is that drives it. And what we're not seeing, the problems that we face in the legal system is that the entire legal system is founded upon white supremacy and privilege. It just is. And it's a perspective that comes from rich old white people who founded this country based upon, as Nico said, genocide and slavery. And so this isn't a system that's built to understand the communities that we're hearing about when we hear about oppression and violence. The system of policing, when they look at children like Dante and Kobe, they're not seeing children.
Right.
And that connection to mom is so important. But so when we think about those fights in the legal system, you have to think about just how the legal system was constructed. And but moms, in my experience, have been changing a lot of that narrative. Fathers too. And fathers too. I don't mean to knock on the dad.
And help us understand, right? I mean, Hennepin County has been doing this for a long time. Has convicted people, thrown people in prison, right? Without real evidence, and have defended and protected police for all these years. How do you want us to continue to operate and show up, right, so that we can make a footprint and imprint and inroad into changing the law?
Well, and when you talk about Hennepin County, I think we throw people in jail and then we don't keep them alive when they're in jail. And Hennepin County in particular has been really the worst, if not one of the worst. But I think the biggest thing is that, you know, that Katie talked about and Andy talked about, and it's such a struggle because there are certain cases that get attention for reasons that are beyond all of us, right? It's in the documentary.
Yep.
We talk about, you know, George Floyd happened when George Floyd happened. And why I worked with another family man named David Smith, died in Minneapolis. Almost exactly like George Floyd when he was killed by officers in 2010. It's on video, and almost no one knows about that. And so for us to
I'm
show
just now
up
hearing
and
about it
actually
too.
pay attention each time when the media is not feeding into us, and when, you know, people aren't telling us what we should support, but it's really more paying attention, keeping our eyes open when the smaller stories come out. Or when a mom says, a dad says, I have this story that may sound completely unbelievable, but maybe take the time to believe me. Maybe take the time to listen to my story and try to help get support for it. Because if you didn't see some of these things on video, you would never believe them. The case of, we just put a case into suit for Lucas Bellamy who got killed. To see the video of how Lucas begged is a lot different than reading about it. And if George Floyd was murdered on video, who knows?
Right.
How many of us ever would have known that? We would have heard somebody died of a medical emergency in front of cupcakes.
Yeah, thank you, Darnell Frazier.
So we have to believe each other, we have to hold each other up, and have an opportunity to really listen to one another in our stories.
And I want to take a moment to thank the families for sharing their stories and the independent media for being there on the front lines and telling the story. Because we have to remember, if we fail to document what's happened, it's bound to repeat itself over and over again like a broken record. So it's important and that we're there, we're present, we're together, we're unified, and documenting what's happening for folks to see that in the future. So, and I think by doing that, echoing what Jeff has said, that's how we have to show up for everything, and in unity together from all aspects, from the media, the families, the mothers, the fathers, all of us speaking in one voice, and that's how it ends.
Jonathan,
Union.
I know you swim in this policy world, right? And you're out there advocating for changes in bills to hold law enforcement and other systems of oppression, right? Systems of enforcement and systems of compliance to always honor people's humanity. I know that this year they are pushing back on some of these changes that we made back in 2020 and 2021, right? Trying to bring back SROs. And there are many ways that the system is fighting against the changes we have made. So in terms of policies, what do we need to be conscious of and continue to work on so that those changes we started in 2020 will continue to stay, will be sustained?
Yep.
We can't make it easy on legislators. When they show up to your door and they're knocking on your door asking for your support. You can't make it easy on them. You have to ask those tough questions, and you have to share your experiences with them about what you went through and tell your stories. And on the legislature website, there's a way that you can be notified about the committees and what bills are they're going to be discussing.
Yes, I signed up to
that.
that.
One of the bills, something happened this week that a lot of people didn't know about, but the city of, or the Hennepin County was trying to make it so you couldn't sue them if they failed to just give you data. And that was by getting those emails about the bills and paying attention to what those bills are, you can formulate a campaign or a strategy and try to push back.
Yep, I
and
heard
what
about
we did
that.
is that we sent a letter to every committee member in the legislature, and on the judiciary and in the public safety, letting them know about that bill, because we were pretty sure that the people who would have been voting on that bill didn't know what was in that bill and how it would harm the community and weaken transparency around. And they pulled that bill yesterday from having a hearing because of that. So when we show up and we pay attention
I get emails from them.
to what's going on, see, there's a lot of folks, there's a lot of systems in place that want us to be zombies and not pay attention to what's going on. And we have to remember that law enforcement for decades has had a presence in the halls of power. And this is why a lot of legislators are scared of law enforcement, even if they say that they're not. When we were down there a few weeks ago, the law enforcement was going over every bill, trying to figure out which one went against them, so that they can come out with a comprehensive strategy to oppose it, knowing that the trifecta that we've had from the DFL party is likely to end after this year. And it'll be another 12 to 20 years before, if history is an indicator of anything, before we get that
call to
get
action
back where we are now. So it's participate. Don't be a spectator in the stands. Get on the field and play the game.
I know Katie has requested that I run the mic around, so we want to take questions from the audience.
That's only if you have questions.
You have
questions?
Yeah, we have a question here.
Hey, this is Lori. Be the change. Lori, be the change.
Yeah, her name on Facebook.
I have the misfortune of living in Brooklyn Center. It's very difficult to watch my friends whose sons were murdered by police in the city that I live in. And I want to acknowledge a couple things here. So, first of all, the courage that it takes for a mother to have to relive this tragedy over and over and over. And, what's the word I'm looking for? The strength it takes to come out and fight against the system that's so god-awful. And, you know, the pushback that we get. So, big up to Amity and Katie.
We work hard.
And,
We work hard. Let's go.
But with that said, we do have a lot of work to do. And for people in the audience who are in the movement, I know that Amity and Katie, part of their coming out and the purpose of showing this, first of all, is to remember Dante and Kobe and Hardell. And all stolen lives. But the bigger purpose for us in the movement is to make that change, to keep showing up. And like Katie said, not when somebody dies, not only when somebody dies, when they're not dying.
Right.
But what about the people who are harmed every day by police? And those
Exactly.
stories aren't told. So keep showing up. Even like, you know, when Jonathan's talking about the legislation, some people it gets real quiet and people might not be, but that's the important part to making change.
Yeah, that's
Show up
why I
your
pay attention to that
legislators.
stuff.
And if, Jonathan, if you would, please share
Be at the
with the
Capitol.
audience some of the very important bills that are on the table this year. There's so much up for legislation still this year that we can get done. If you would.
Some of the legislation, part of our 2024 legislative package, we put together a coalition of over 30 organizations around the Twin Cities. And some of those legislative initiatives are amendments to the hardware sheriff, requiring those in having direct contact with inmates to wear body cameras, changing how they look at providing medical care, ending qualified immunity, going after the tax-funded portion of police pensions when they get convicted of a felony. And actually, that's one of the first bills that has ever gone after the money. We also have ending pretextual stops. And in that bill particularly, the legislature has created a task force, I believe, to look into that specifically. And we put together a comprehensive bill looking at language all over the country, best practices. We pulled a little bit out of here, a little bit out of here, and put together something that was really nice for Minnesota. And we were able to get Representative Cedric Frazier to carry that in the House. We also have bills of requiring police officers to have liability insurance.
Right. Yeah. Just like we all need it to drive a car.
And then removing the statute of limitations on lawful death, and allowing individuals remove the statute of limitations for people who are accused of law enforcement of committing sex crimes.
Yeah. Them sick motherfuckers.
And a bunch of other things too. Some restorative justice pieces of legislation to provide economic empowerment for those who are coming home to us. So.
We have about 6 minutes.
Okay.
Just really quickly, Sophia, I saw you at the Mother's March in 2020, and you had your camera out, you were filming. I'm curious, at that moment, did you know that you were creating a documentary? And then at that moment,
she
you were
was.
creating a documentary?
Yes, I knew, but the topic would be more generalized. The topic was, like, as you see this film right now, we have lead story, which is 3 mothers and their tragedy. And the secondary story flows its protest and the unity of protesters. So basically, before meeting mothers, before being on Mother's March, I thought it's going to be a display about protest and unity is also great, but not this deep and hard.
But you had the vision at the Mothers March when it was happening.
Yes.
And then this is a quick second question. Mr. Storms, I'm very curious, as a white lawyer, do you ever show up to these cases and district attorneys are ever surprised to see you as a white attorney showing up for primarily what I would assume families of color that have been affected by police violence? And outside of that, what is the number one wall you see yourself going up against in your work?
Yeah, you know, what I would say is I've been doing it long enough that they're probably not surprised to see me, but I think...
They're like, oh, there's the stolen lives lawyer.
I think that more than anything else, I think, you know, my friends of color have been surprised to hear the things that actually come out of my mouth that don't always come out of the mouth of white lawyers. But for me, the biggest barrier that I see right now for us is a lot of these we bring them as federal civil rights claims. Qualified immunity is a major issue. The 8th Circuit
and qualified immunity.
District Court of Minnesota is one of the most conservative courts in the entire country, and behind them is the U.S. Supreme Court, which is the worst it's ever been in our lifetime.
Especially
federal
for a
claims
blue
right
state.
now are very challenging, whereas we now have maybe the best Supreme Court we've ever had in the state of Minnesota ever. And so that's where this goes hand in hand. Some of this legislation they're talking about, so like John, I don't think John had mentioned if it was on your policy, but one of the things that we're looking for in the state is to have a private right of action for violations of the Minnesota Constitution. And the reason that's so big is we have to go to the Minnesota Supreme Court, and if we can get rid of tort caps, we will then get more justice for individuals who are harmed than we can in the federal system right now.
Thank you. We have one more question, one short question, and then we will take closing comments from y'all.
Okay, my question is, Amity, sorry, thank you. Janelle, Amity, what do you need for the accountability for Kobe, and how can we as a community continue to support you?
Thanks for that question. As I said, the judge granted the defense's motion for summary judgment. And yeah, Brooklyn Center and you officers, if you're watching, yes, I will be filing an appeal.
They're ready to do. And a lot of us here will support you.
2 weeks left to be able to do that. Because we don't have much time without going into it. There's something about knife cases, and they're actually harder than almost any other case. Knife cases never win. In this case, they actually already use the Quinones, Brian Quinones case was cited in their answer for why
his name, Brian Quinones.
And it just continues to happen. So it's really important not only that I get justice for my son, because you don't get to kill my baby and then nothing, but also because we need to stop having the bad precedent that there is in the knife cases, so that any future knife cases that should have some should be considered aren't, simply because it's a knife case. So
We'll go to Katie. Katie, how do you want us to? What do you want us to leave with? What do you want us to leave with? What's your closing remark?
I think I answered that question once before.
John, you're trying to get through.
The thing is to leave with that.
He was trying to get past me.
Power and the power of people. Showing up, showing out for families is the most important thing. So when we come to events per se or rallies and we see more than 5 people there, it feels good to know that our community is there and they're there to hold us up and be our voices when we feel like we don't have a voice because we can't even breathe, knowing the loss that we've encountered. And you guys give us the strength. I mean, besides family, my husband, my kids, it's community that's there that shows up and that helps us just get through another anniversary or another.
Yeah, that's right. Dante's is coming up.
Or another fight, because we continue to fight no matter if you get accountability. We're going to continue to fight because it's always something, because we have to fight to prove that our babies had the right to live. Right. And if you don't ever have to fight that fight, be faithful. But it's one of the worst fights that you can ever have on your shoulders. So community helps us. So just remember that.
We are your back.
Yeah. Yeah. As
A quick chant on that side of Shekel.
So, yep, she kind of went,
Oh, yeah.
before we leave, we did want to,
I knew
we
that
want
was.
to honor, well, a few people in the audience, so are you, let me know when
Sure,
you're
yeah,
done.
yeah.
Okay. Okay, so can I have, and I know that there was a few mothers that were in the audience, I think some people have left, but if you're a mother in the audience and you have lost a loved one to police brutality, jails, whatever, to our system, if you've lost a child to the system, if you guys could please stand up. And if you're not comfortable standing up, that's okay. And if you could come to the stage for me, and do you mind just telling maybe 1 minute of your name, your loved one, and how you lost your child?
God bless.
Hello, my name is Lisa Keats, and on December 8th, 2023, my son was murdered by the St. Paul Police Department. Here with my son, my eldest son, Anthony. My son's name is Brandon Keats. He was 24 years old, and I love and miss him very much. And I appreciate all the work that you guys are doing for the community.
We are your back.
And then I also want to ask anybody who has, what would we do? Anyone who is, actually first, I want to introduce a couple people in the audience that have actually been there for our families. I remember the very first day that Dante was killed, and so many people showed up. I remember, because she had the big Kobe symbol, and I don't remember what she said to me, but I just remember that she was there. But there was another person that was there, that stood by my side when I made my first
I know you hear it, Spirit.
speech on a microphone. And her name is Tashira, and she's with Family Supporting Families.
Sister by another mister.
She didn't lose her son, but she has a son. And because she's been there for us, it's taken away from her son. Because she has fought for us as families. She shows up. She's spoke for me many times when I couldn't speak on the microphone. I was like, Tashira, please just say something. I couldn't do it. But she has taken a lot away from her own family to support so many families in Minnesota, and not even in Minnesota, but in other states, in other cities.
Yeah.
So I just want Tashira to stand up and just give a
We love you, Tashira. And Tashira, Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you haven't already, please like her Facebook page. Family Supporting Families Against Police Violence.
You gotta come to us.
She usually grabs the microphone so quickly.
Yeah, she does.
She's being shy of the mic.
And I put my camera right in her face. Yeah, she was. I like she watching her knees. Maybe because she was watching her knees.
You're Rose from Amity.
Oh, let me guess, we probably be out of here at 10. Okay. According to...
Goal for me was to be what I didn't have when my son's father was beat to death and thrown in a dumpster by the St. Paul Police Department. And genuinely in my heart, all I wanted and all I want is to support the people who's living through the nightmare that I've lived through for 15 years now, when Justin was stolen away from me and my son. And I will not stop until I don't have no more breath in my body, because that's what his life meant to me. I had the St. Paul Police Department offer $7,500 for not giving up the video that is altered, but they still didn't even give it up for my son's father's situation. I will not stop. I will not stop supporting the families that are hurting the most, and I will continue to stand until I can't stand no more. For the life of Justin, for Dante, for Kobe, for Cordell, for
We're gonna march till we can't march no more.
Hardell, for Dante, for all of the lives. We have to stand up for all of them, because each and every life is equally important. And when we don't stand up for all of them, we minimize what's really going on. We can't minimize it. We have to tell them about all of them. Thank you.
That part right there.
We have literally 5 minutes, and there's like a lot more people that I want to say thank you to. No, you're fine. So I just want to give
Oh
another,
yeah, because I guess we gotta be out of here at
another
10.
mom her roses. She is not lost on a loved one, but she comes all the way from Little Rock, Arkansas.
Yeah. It says in front of me, Tanya.
For all stolen lives. She actually stood out. Now, mind you, she's from Little Rock, you guys. She stood outside during
Honorary
Kim Potter's trial.
president of Minneapolis.
She's the only one out there breathing her butt off.
Yeah.
And she comes and shows up, and she's got she's little, but she packs.
That was because I didn't go there till late in the afternoon.
Amazing voice. So.
Miss Tanya Gang.
Honorary
Wait, and then
Minnesota.
another person. There's so many people. There's so many people out in the audience that we just don't have time, and I'm so sorry. But we do have roses, so for every woman, I would love for you guys to come up and get roses before they go. But okay, yeah. And then I just want to, Reverend Jeanette.
I just see her.
Is another very powerful woman.
Oh, there she is. She's right back.
She stands in solidarity with our families in every aspect. She's there on and off the cameras. Camera goes on. She's still checking up on families. She still makes sure that everybody's okay.
She'd be down at the square. I'm there many times. Yeah.
They're giving me that
Off duty though.
Right.
Oh, and they're dimming the lights.
So,
Hey, we just had one more person. Sorry. Sophia. So when I met her, it was right when Dante was killed, and I was in that, what we all call the twilight zone. I didn't know what, if I was going left or right, but I knew I could trust her because when she looked at me, she had tears in her eyes, just like I could tell that she cared, and she wasn't there just to watch another mom cry and to get it on camera. So I want to just say thank you so much for the work that you've done. And for everything that's so amazing.
That's what's up.
I think so. But I would love everybody to come up, all moms, even if you're not a mom. Oh, so we have to leave and not get it done?
Oh yeah, that's right. Go ahead. Oh, that's right. I guess we got to be out here at 10, according to them.
If I can see them. Mark and Lori, see you, Mark, sitting on the implementation committee with us in Brooklyn Center. Lori also totally helping us pull this off. Melissa, Mel, and Emily, I don't know where you guys are, but thank you so very much.
Yeah, Melissa's been going all over the place. I ran into her a couple times.
T-shirts, all that stuff, all your notifications when it happens, so we appreciate you guys so very much.
Okay, let's
And
take.
and Susan, you're amazing.
Dr. Ross.
Let's
Where'd he
take
go?
these words from Andrew
He
Davis
was
and
back
bring
there.
them home, right? Andrew Davis often say, I'm no longer accepting the things that cannot change. I am changing
Wise
the
woman.
things that can no longer accept.
That's right. Great Andrew Davis. my coat. I just can't. I don't know. Struggle is real. All right. And here we got. Say his name, Dante Wright. Say his name, Kobe Heiser. Say his name, Hardell Sherrill. Yeah, just had to say that right there. Various community members here. I'm just like showing y'all that before I end this video. This has been a presentation of the Streets Advocate. Peace and blessings, y'all. Stay safe. I'll power the people, and I'm out.